Hey there, my name is Dan. I am a music teacher about to listen to, well, a soundtrack I've never, ever heard before in my life called The Last Spell OST. And again, just to be clear, I've never heard this before in my life, so come with me as we go on a journey. Together, we're going to discover hidden connection, understand how music works, and have fun while we do it. You ready? Type a 2 in the chat, type a 2 in the comments if you're ready to rumble. Let's do this thing. Starting out with Commander's theme. Let's go. Oh my gosh. I tell you what, from that intro, I had no idea what was about to happen. That was insane in the membrane. And like, all right, to go back and break one thing down for you, I mean, my goodness, so much to talk about here, but here, let's go check out one thing here. So something to notice here is this is actually a production technique. It sounds like there's a sidechain compressor or sidechain limiter off of the snare drum. Oh, and kick. Mostly the kick, where what happens is when the kick drum goes, that's the boom, that really low sound. You hear all the other music takes this little dip in volume, and we can actually hear that get even more pronounced. Like, if this is making you feel a little bit dizzy, that's why. It's because every time that kick hits, the music takes a dip in volume, but it's not immediate. It's like the kick sound and then this little dip, and so it's like this off-kilter experience that happens with, again, this generally we could call this a side chain compressor being used. Nuts. Love it. This is wild. I have no idea what is about to happen with this next one called In Memoriam, but my goodness, I imagine it's going to be heavy. Let's see what happens. Batman. Batman. Okay, well, I got really excited there for a second because it almost turned into the... It almost turned into the Batman theme from Christopher Nolan's Batman's, I believe, Hans Zimmer, the composer there. No, I don't have notes written on the ceiling. I'm just trying to remember. Have you ever found that sometimes you look up and you remember things better? Okay. Yeah, and then it would do bum, bum, Yeah, it's that change from the relative minor to relative major. So in music, we have ways of understanding how music is connected. And we use letters from the alphabet, like A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Except in the musical alphabet, we don't go to H, we go straight back to A. So we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Round, 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 we go backwards, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Now, there's connections between notes. For example, D to F. If we start on D and we say D is 1, so we go D, E, F. F is 3. And this connection between D and F, or another way of thinking about it would be from F to D. So if we go F to D, we go F, G, A, B, C, D. That's up 6. So this relationship of 3 and 6, this is a relative minor and relative major. Yes, we need to pair these with chords. What are chords, you ask? Well, that's a note. If we take 2 notes, we get a chord. I believe would get us the Batman theme. No, not quite. No. What is it then? Maybe it's B flat then. Oh yeah, it's a B flat. Excuse me. So, 3 down. The other way. So not relative major, relative minor. Excuse me. I was misremembering the Batman theme. So what we have is essentially D minor 2, kind of an implied B flat major. Now, there's 2 notes that are common. In fact, there's only 1 note that's different between these 2 chords, and that's an A to a B flat. And the A and the B flat are only 1/2 step apart. That's the smallest amount. That's the smallest difference between 2 notes that you can get in Western music. Yes, there are things called microtones that are smaller than that, but by and large, Western music, smallest thing is going to be a 1/2 step. So if we take this D minor and we just change the A to a B flat, ooh, all of a sudden it's very different than if we put a B flat in the bass. It really sounds like the chord. But there you go. That change, hearkening back to Hans Zimmer in the Batman theme. And then obviously just the sort of anticipation and tension going on here with those, what we could call a drone. Now, a drone in music is not a flying thing. However, it does kind of sound like that flying thing if it was giant. So imagine a giant drone that sounds really low. And it's just... and you can hear throughout this whole intro bit, what I'm going to play is going to fit with it. And that's a drone, and that is what creates, well, it's part of what creates the tension, is having this ba going on underneath everything else. Okay, let's keep going with Distant Memories. Ha! There it is! spicy enchilada. Okay, now what's really cool is that In Memoriam actually musically builds into Distant Memories, and Distant Memories, I mean, just, oh, let me show you instead of just trying to explain it to you. So look, in Memoriam, we have this very low part. And what we can hear is, except it's very low. And here we go. I'll play along with it so you can hear it. A little too low. I can't even hear it. Okay, so we have this pattern. What is this pattern? This pattern is called an arpeggio. What is an arpeggio? An arpeggio is a broken chord. So it's when we take a chord, remember I played a chord for you before. It's a group of notes together. And an arpeggio is when we break that chord into its individual component notes. And when usually, arpeggios go from low to high or high to low. They can come in any variation, but yeah, more often than not, looking at the entire body of music that's ever been made, arpeggios, low to high, high to low. Now, the chord that is being arpeggiated here is called a D minor chord. Minor is the quality of the sound. D is the lowest note. So say D minor, it means D is the lowest note, what we would call the root in music speak. So D is the root. It's the lowest note. It's the foundation, the root. There you go. That's a D right there. And then after that, each one of the notes from the D minor chord is broken out of the chord and played in sequence. So D, F, A, and then D again at the top. Then we also had the thing we were talking about, like the Batman theme, where it was D minor to then, how am I going to play this? There we go. B flat. I changed the tuning of this string. Anyway, doesn't matter. I changed the tuning of this string, and now everything's not where I'm used to it being. Anyway, so again, Distant Memories in D minor, which means that the first note, last note for most of the piece, well, it starts and ends in D minor. And right there, we hear that same movement of D minor, give it a little distortion, to B flat. It's that same relationship. Now changing here. With a C sharp. Now this C sharp represents so much. This C sharp represents what we're going to call the dominant area. What is the dominant area? Why is it important? The dominant area is the area of the most stereotypical, easy to find, reliable tension. It's like the Honda or Toyota of musical tension. It's like it's always there when you need it. It usually works, and well, you can find them everywhere. So, dominant area. Now this C sharp, this could be one of two things. This could either be a leading tone, chord based off the leading tone. Thinking of the leading tone as the root. So a C sharp fully diminished seventh, which bringing us back to the D minor, would be a leading tone in perfect authentic cadence. Now this C sharp could also be the third note in an A major chord. So A would be the lowest, C sharp would be the next, and E would be the last before we repeat back to A. So, and this right here, these two, you can hear that they are different, but similar. It's because they both serve the same function in music, and the function is the dominant area. The function of the dominant area is to give tension, to create a feeling of something different from where we started that pushes us back, usually, in this case, to D. So we've heard a D minor to a B flat, and now to some type of dominant area. Now this is just groovy, baby. And right there, that high note was a C sharp over the D, which creates quite a bit of friction. Type a 3 in the chat. Put a 3 in the comments if you feel like this creates a bit of friction in your ears. Or if your name happens to be Classy Jitto, you might actually find that to be pretty. As we talked about when we were talking about Pizza Tower. So, now what do we have here with this maybe hammered dulcimer balalaika something going on here? We have that same D minor arpeggio, this time much higher than it was before. Before, it sounded like this. Now, it's way up high. Well, it's actually... It's still the same notes. Just higher up. And this relationship between it being the same notes but higher is called an octave. In this case, actually 2 octaves. So it's still a D, an F, an A, and back to a D, but 2 octaves higher. All right, that's really cool. So we can see that In Memoriam is the precursor to Distant Memories, and Distant Memories is taking many of the ideas from Memoriam and developing on them, because like we talked about too, bringing the idea of the dominant area with that C sharp that was the dominant area right there. And type a 3 in the chat, type a 3 in the comments if you're watching on demand. If you can hear, I'll point out to you, don't type it yet. If you can hear that transition from the dominant area back to the tonic area. The tonic area feels like home. Dominant area feels like, oh my gosh, there's tension. All right, so I'm going to turn it up a little bit, and then I'm going to yell dominant and tonic at you. Tonic. Dominant. Tonic. So that dominant area is the breath hold. It's the tension. It's the, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? And then the release of that tension is when we go back to the tonic area. So step 3, if you could hear that tension to no longer tension. All right. Let's keep this going with Mist. The mountains gold. More sidechain like crazy. Okay, Trey Spooky. Hey, so I'm going to show you how to actually identify when a sidechain compressor is being used. You're going to hear it right here, right now. So get those typing fingers ready. You're going to type a 5 when you hear it, but don't type it yet. Again, comment with this in the comments on the video when you hear it, so I know that I'm doing a good job with these and making sure that I'm translating this in a way that makes sense to you. Okay. Here we go. So what you're going to look for is this big, loud, low sound, and all the other music is going to take a dip in volume. And they're a bit here. It's really noticeable around here. Right there. So you can hear an actual dip in the volume before the kick hits of everything else, then the kick hits. You hear that? Bum, bum. It actually gets quiet before that kick sound. It's almost like you feel like something's wrong with your headphones. Type a 5 if you can hear that. That's wild. Yeah. So what you're hearing right there, that is the product of, well, there's a couple things that can do it. I'm calling it a sidechain compressor. You could also do a sidechain limiter. You could also do a noise gate. You could also do a ducker. There's many different ways of getting this effect, but that is wild. And so the question you might ask next is, okay, why is that effect being used in the music? Well, I didn't make this music, but I can take what I think is going to be a solid guess. And that is the reason for bringing the volume of everything else down for when the kick sounds, when that big drum sounds, that big low drum, is that that big low drum can take up all of the space or most of the space allowed for the music and actually make a louder sound. Now you might say, well, how does that work out, Dan? Well, when you hear recorded music, there's not unlimited volume. For example, this is the maximum volume of music before it does something called distorts. So what's happening is to get the kick to be as loud as possible. Remember, this is the maximum music can go before it starts distorting. So to get the kick to be as loud as possible, what you got to do is you got to bring all the other music down and make it more quiet so that the kick has more room within. Because remember, this is as loud as it can go, so you bring everything else down so the kick can actually take up more space. So that's one of the main reasons why you would use something like sidechain compression in this way where it's really intense. It's to bring everything else down. Because, like, okay, another way to think about it is imagine you have a glass that is full of marbles, all right? You could put one really big marble in and then the water would start to overflow. Or you could take a bunch of the smaller marbles out and then you could put the big marble in and the water will not overflow. It's the same principle here. The smaller marbles are all the other instruments. Taking them away or turning down their volume allows more space for that doom, big drum sound going there. I know I should get a whiteboard. It's almost like I have a whiteboard coming from Amazon tomorrow that I will be using. Thank you, Guitar Assassin. Okay. And also, hurry up! We've got markers coming. We got whiteboards coming. It's gonna be a blast. Okay. This next one is called A Sea of Laments. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. Oh, heck yes. Well, a lot of really cool stuff going on in Sea of Laments. And again, we hear this use of side chain compression going on with the kick. Now, let's talk about what happens here towards the end, because this was, my favorite part of the song. So I'd love to break this down for you. Okay, so I'm going to play this an octave higher, so it's not going to sound exactly like it is just because of the range of my guitar. It actually does not go that low. So what we can hear is C. So we've actually gone down a whole step. So we were hearing In Memoriam, Distant Memories, we're hearing a lot of D. Now we're hearing some C. So A, B, C, D. C is below D if we were to stack all the letters of the alphabet on top of each other. So C, is actually lower than D. So we have C to then, we hear this, an octave down. But really what this is saying is this chord right here. And this chord right here is we could call it an A flat minor chord. So we're going C to A flat minor, which, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be misremembering this, but I don't think I am, that's whenever you see a haunted house in like a Disney movie, that's the sound. Because we heard this before on a couple soundtracks when the composer really wanted to make things spooky, as we heard this. Yeah, there you go. So that's like the spooky sound. Now, sure enough, I'm playing a C minor chord here. Even though we don't hear a C minor, I'm inferring it. I'm saying, well, that's kind of what the idea is here. Yeah, there you go. And to make it even more spooky, it's like an A flat minor major 7, which is an even spookier sound. Check this sound out. Yikes. Yeah. All right, so real quick vote. Here's option 1. Here's option 2. Which one is spookier? Type it in the chat. Is option 1 or option 2 spookier? Yeah, it's option 1. Here's option 2. Option 1 versus option 2. Go ahead and type a 1 and a 2 or a 2 in the chat to vote, or type it in the comments. Okay, well, let's keep this going. Oh, interesting. Oh, you guys think option 1 is spookier? I think option 2 is spookier. How fascinating that we differ in our opinion of what is spooky. Now, you might be saying, well, Dan's the one running the stream, so surely he must be right. Here's the thing. In music, oftentimes, well, all the time, because music is art, art is subjective. Subjective means no one's right or wrong. Everyone just has their opinion. So while I might have my opinion that option 2 is spookier, if you had an opinion that option 1 is spookier, that's fine. Because that's your opinion versus my opinion. And that's all they are. They're just opinions. Cool. All right, let's keep this thing rocking and rolling. That was a lot of fun with Hordes Descend. Let's check this out. Yeah. Love it. All right, I want to point out at least one thing here for you. Let's see what's exactly happening here. Okay, so what's pretty cool here is previously we had ascending arpeggios or ascending arpeggios. Now we have a descending arpeggio, kind of, sort of. There, this will help you recognize it. Let's bring that back. Let's put some zhuzh on it. And so what this is doing, it's, well, are we arpeggiating a C? Ooh. So it is kind of arpeggiating a C minor chord. And remember, arpeggio is a broken chord, so it's breaking down the C minor. And yeah, that's really cool. Now, there's an added note here on this arpeggio, and that's going to be the sixth, or more precisely, the flat six of C. So you go C, D, E, F, G, A. Ah, but it's not quite an A. Remember how I told you at the beginning of the stream there's only 7 letters? Here's the thing, there's actually 12, because some of the notes we add the term sharp and flat to them to give us some more flavors, some more notes. So here we have an A, but it's not quite an A, it's a little lower than an A, so it's an A flat. We have A flat, G, E flat, C. And the G, E flat, C, that's from the C minor chord. But there you go. Now, what's interesting to think about that is we had an ascending minor arpeggio, and now we have, for all intents and purposes, a descending minor arpeggio. An interesting reversal, if you will, from the previous, let's see, what were the names of the tunes there? We had In Memoriam and Distant Memories. We had that ascending arpeggio. Now we have a descending arpeggio in the Hordes Descend. And indeed, the Hordes are descending, so perhaps this retrograde, or the reversal of the direction of the arpeggio, is indeed emblematic and symbolizes the descending of the Hordes. Let's check out the spirits. Oh, we have a question from the chat. Daston asks, what are descending arpeggios usually used in? I recognize them from 80 sci-fi flicks. Yeah, you'll hear them in 80 sci-fi flicks. You'll hear them in Stranger Things. Anything that sounds 80, you'll hear them. But you also hear them in, like, classical music. You'll hear them everywhere. Descending arpeggios are everywhere. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Get out, get out. Okay, let's listen to the spirits. All right, so again, what I'm about to play sounds a little higher than it does on the recording because of how high the guitar is. Not how high it is up on my body, haha, but rather how high the guitar sounds. Okay, so we had a couple things here. So there's a C drone throughout this piece. And then above the C drone, we have this other idea, which sounds like this. Ooh, delightful. So against the C, it's an A flat, G, to a G flat. Nice, ooh, crunchy dissonance there. So we have dissonance here, we have consonance here, dissonance here. Then there's a little melody. It was, what was it? Let's pull it back, I'll grab it. All right. These are using all notes from a C natural minor scale, which agrees with C. But the fact that this, we can think of this melody as a question and answer, or an antecedent and a consequent. And the antecedent ends on a question. And the question is this D above the C. So you see, ba, type a 2 in the chat if that sounds like it has some dissonance to you. Ba, like the note I'm singing versus the note I'm playing. Is there some dissonance there for you? Type a 2 if that seems a little dissonant to you. So the notes that are emphasized in music, especially in melody, the notes that we hear for a longer duration of time feel more emphasized to us. So the fact that it ends, it starts off very consonant. And then, the consequent, usually, in an antecedent consequent relationship, you have a question in the melody and then an answer in the melody. But here, there's no real answer. I mean, there is an answer, but it doesn't bring us home in the same way an answer might. The answer still is ambiguous and leaves this tension kind of like swirling about like so many octopus tentacles. So here's... Yeah. It ends on the F sharp, which actually mirrors the first idea that it ends on the F sharp. So we could even think of maybe this melody we're hearing right now is like an elaboration from the first idea. So ends on an F sharp, which certainly does not feel like it's coming back home to rest. That doesn't feel like home. This feels like home. This is home, but in a different way. Cool. All right, let's keep going with Invocation, which is what I am right now. It's a thinker. It's a thinker. You'll get it. Okay, Invocation. Heck yes. Something's coming. Oh, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Come on now. So what's so cool is we're seeing from the spirits to invocation, building on, using the ideas. We even hear the same melody from the spirits reused in invocation. But oh my goodness, does it go to the next level or what? Type a 3 in the chat. Type a 3 in the comments if you're watching on demand, if you're enjoying the way that this goes to the next level. Let's go back and listen to that break. That was insane. And you can hear it starting right here, this going on in your headphones. Starting now. All right, come on. Let's go. 2, 3. Woo! I mean, so much energy and life and creativity going into this. I mean, I have listened to, not as much metal music as some people, but I've listened to quite a bit of metal music in my time, and I can honestly say that I'm enjoying the fresh space and the originality of what's going on here. Because this is a treat. This is a true treat. Oh my gosh. All right, I'm going to show you one thing from this track, because besides just talking about how awesome it is. Yeah. Let's see if we can get a little higher gain sitch going here. All right, you guys hear that sound? That's how that sound is made in guitars. So you touch the strings, you hold them, and then you hit them, but you have to have a lot of distortion to get them to kind of scream like that. So, little behind the scenes of how that sound gets made. Like right there. Like that. Cool. All right, let's keep it rocking and rolling. Please remember, you can ask questions if you're here live in the chat. Go ahead and pop your questions about the OST, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability as we go. Let's check out All Hope Gone. Goody gumdrops. I say goody gumdrops because I'm stoked for however Remy is going to translate All Hope Being Gone through metal awesomeness. Let's go, dude. Okay. And if the tension of this wasn't enough, if the tension of this was not enough already, here at the end, some instruments are actually put out of tune. Here we go. Oh, make it stop. Let's just do it again. Oh. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, what do I mean by in tune versus out of tune? So remember how I talked about how we have 12 notes? Well, those 12 notes sound something along the lines of this. And I repeated the 12th note at the top. Here's it again with fewer effects. Okay. Oh, then I just played the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, there's space between all of these notes. For example, here's an E note. Here's a E flat note. So they're very close to each other. But between them, there's many options. And so what you can do is you can take a note that would typically be an E and play it just a little lower. Ooh. Temper 3 if you can hear that difference. Okay, and so to make this even more dissonant, what's happened is some of the notes are played a little out of tune right here at the very end, and my gosh, it is just delicious. Okay, so the two notes that are being played out of tune are a C and an E, but they're a little flat. Because here's the thing too, is that the C that's being implied here so far up to this point in the OST, we've heard C minor, we've heard D minor, but right here, and we heard it before in this piece, granted, but this is the first piece where we've actually heard a C major. And we had it once and it was real pretty. But here the second time it comes back around, and instead of just allowing it to be pretty, because this is kind of like a metal soundtrack so far from what I'm gathering, Remy doesn't leave it as this beautiful, pristine sort of major sound. He makes it dissonant by actually bringing in out-of-tune notes from that major chord. Because this major chord here, oh, it's like a vanilla ice cream cone on one of those, like, you know, white waffly things that you eat it and you're not sure it's food. Like, it might be plastic, but it crunches, and so you're like, well, okay, I guess I'll eat it. You know, that you put like the soft serve ice cream in, and like beige looking things, real crunchy. They got like the holes in it the ice cream melts into. Right, that's what this is. And then if you drop that on the ground and you pick it up and it's got one side covered with dirt, then you get and so what Remy's doing is taking this nice music vanilla soft serve ice cream cone and just kind of like rubbing it in some dirt and some wood chips and being like, how about now? Because it makes it a little bit more I don't know. I might be able to eat around it. All right, let's keep going. Speaking of ice cream cones that get tainted, let's listen to this next piece, which is called Tainted Essence. Let's check it out. Okay, some really cool things. We're back to D minor here, but it doesn't stay as a D minor. Sure, it starts off as a D minor, but then it goes to a D sus2. Sus2. Sus stands for suspended, not suspicious, or even... I can't think of another word that starts with sus. Okay, so suspended. It's when we take the third note in the chord. Because remember, we had a low note, a middle note, and a high note in the chord. It's when we take the middle note and we bring it down by one. There you go. This is a sus2 chord. So instead of having the third, so if D is 1, F is 3, A is 5, so D, E, F, G, A. D, F, A are the 1, 3, and the 5. And so instead of having D, F, A, we have D, E, A. Just a D sus2 chord. Very interesting and suspenseful because it is suspended. In addition to that, there's this really cool thing. And what that is, it's an arpeggiation. It's an arpeggio of a D minor add 2. Instead of sus2, it's adding the 2 into the chord. So we have the A, which was the 5th, or the 5, the D, which is the 1, the E, which is the 2, the F, which is the 3. And then there was some other cool things. There was playing around with B flats, A's, C sharps, coming back to D. Now there was one little progression that showed up twice that I didn't catch, so I'm going to go back and grab now. Okay, so it goes D minor, D sus2, Okay, so some interesting things. So it's going D minor, is effectively a D minor, to effectively a D sus2, to a effectively a G sus2, to a G sus2, then to a what we could call a D flat 5 omit 3. Whew! Which means there is no third, there is no F, it's just D, and the fifth, which is A, but the A flat. Interesting. Okay, so you have a G add 9, so that's a G, an A, and a D. Excuse me, a G sus 2, really. I'm calling it a 9 because it's so much higher, and if we add 7 to it doesn't matter. So okay, effectively a G sus2, so we have D minor, D sus2, G sus2, and then to a D flat 5 omit 3. Wild stuff. Okay, let's keep it going with Nocturnus. If you've ever been, whatever. Okay, Nocturnus, here we go. Well, Master Geese, great ears in the chat, who called it that this was, well, quite a bit like Distant Memories, but, well, a little different. Now, what's interesting about this, too, is the incorporation of both the ascending arpeggio. Well, in this case, it's not an ascending arpeggio. It's just an ascending idea of... What is it? What was it at the beginning? What was it? Okay, so yeah, this idea of, this is not an arpeggio, this is walking up the scale, this is starting, so D is 1, so it's going E, F, G, A. It's going 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, at the end, we get this, another sort of more scale. Which I cannot play that fast. But it's a descending scale pattern type. And also from Tainted Essence, we have the presence of the D sus2. The presence of the 2 is all around. So I think what's interesting is Nocturnus is not quite, but it's about halfway. Yeah, not quite halfway, but almost halfway through this OST. So I'm wondering if this signifies some type of significant change in the levels, or maybe it's wrapping up what everything's been happening since Distant Memories. Okay, let's keep this going with Awake in the Dark. Okay, great. We have a question from Joseph Cortez, longtime supporter of the channel. Is that a guy screaming into a mic, or is that a guitar? Well, speaking as a man who has both screamed into mics to make them sound like guitar and also played sort of guitars, hopefully I will be able to answer this question, because I'm right in the middle of that Venn diagram right there. Sounds to me like there's screams on the right, guitars in the center. Yeah. Meow! In your right ear, right there. Yeah, great catch, Joseph Cortez. Great, great catch. Yeah, so you meow. Type a number 4 in the chat and type this in the comments if you're watching this after the fact. If you can hear that meow. Right there. Here, now. It happened right after I said now. So I said now, meow, meow. That's a guy screaming. Or just going, yow. Yow. That's a guy doing an impression of a cat who got its toe stepped on. Let's check out Oraculum. Feels like I'm saying something I shouldn't be saying, but let's carry on. All right, and we're back to C minor. Interestingly enough, I think most of the Shin Megami Tensei church pieces, the organs, were in C minor as well, if I'm not mistaken. No. No, also not. There we go. All right, so that right there, it's a C minor, which is 1, to A flat, which is 6, to then essentially a 5 of 5 to the 5, which is G minor. But in first inversion. E major? E major, which would be the 5 of raised 6, which is the A minor. Wild stuff there. So when I say the 5 of something, what I'm talking about is a relationship called a secondary dominant. Secondary dominant. What does that mean? Well, we talked about the dominant area before in this stream. What a secondary dominant is, well, it's not the dominant area, it's secondary to the dominant area. It's still a dominant, it still functions as a dominant, but it doesn't have the same push and pull in relationship to everything we've heard in the music so far. And what secondary dominants do is they create new places of tension, new pools, new pockets of tension that push us to chords and sounds that are different from the C minor. So it starts on C minor. Secondary dominants will push us and invite us to go and explore sounds other than C minor. So for example, we had a secondary dominant that led us to G minor. And then a secondary dominant leads us to A minor. So in each case, G minor, A minor, secondary dominants lead us somewhere that is not where we started. They don't lead us to really the home base where we started the whole song, the tonic area. They don't lead us back to the tonic area, generally. Well, that's where we think they should go. Now, there is such a thing called a deceptive cadence. And a deceptive cadence is when a composer shows you a secondary dominant and then, like a magician with a magic trick, leads you somewhere else. Totally different, that you would not expect the secondary dominant to lead you. And indeed, they can do the same thing with regular dominant area chords as well. And any type of cadence can become a deceptive cadence when composers, songwriters, show you a path where you think you know where you're going, and all of a sudden, whoosh, it's a rabbit. If that didn't make sense, that's kind of the point. Let's check out Shadow Battles. Going to the 4. To the 5. Dominant area. Tonic area. Dominant area. Tonic. Well, dominant chord there really gave us a cadence. D half diminished 7. And back we go. Okay, so I want to introduce you to a new area. You understand the tonic area. Tonic area is home. You understand the dominant area. The dominant area is wow, big tension that usually, typically leads us back to home. The third area I want to introduce you to is right in between the tonic and the dominant area. It's called the subdominant area. Sub like submarine, like under, subdominant area. So the subdominant area is when we hear chords. So here's the tonic area. Here's the dominant area. It's dominant chord indeed as well. Here's two examples of subdominant area chords. And what the subdominant is, I like to describe the subdominant as the feeling of waiting for a meal you've ordered at a restaurant. So you go sit down at the restaurant and you relax. Tonic. The waiter comes. You order your food. Ooh. You start to get excited. Things going somewhere. This is a story now. You start, maybe if you're very hungry, or if you're anything like me, eyeing wherever you see the people carrying food come from and monitoring the plates to see if your food is coming out next. I don't know if you do that. I sure do that. See, oh, is my food coming? No, my food's not. Is my food? Is that my food? And then once you see the food coming, oh my gosh, the excitement builds. You're in the dominant area. You're about to eat it. You cut it. Just a second before you put the food in your mouth is the height of the tension. And then when you finally start eating, that in and of itself is a form of resolution and brings us back to the tonic area. So the subdominant area is an area where there's story being told before the big climactic moment. And here in Shadow Battles, we heard two different chords sit in the subdominant area. We heard an F minor go to the G, the dominant, back to 1. We also heard a D half diminished 7. Let's keep this going with The Great War. right, and here we seem to have these dyad ideas where there's sort of a slower, more ambient introduction of ideas, and then these more up-tempo, rock and rollin', harder hitting, more metal version of the ideas. So here we can hear in the Great War the use of the tonic, subdominant, and the dominant areas. Check this out. I'll call them out as tonic, dominant, tonic, subdominant, dominant, tonic. Subdominant, tonic, dominant, tonic, subdominant, All right, that's when I had some fun there. All right, the infected lands. Let's get after it. Okay, some really, really interesting ways of building tension here. Present now, we could hear this. By the way, it's the first time I believe we've had a piece of music in the key of G minor. Really cool stuff. Now, so right there, tonic, 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 dominant, dominant, back to tonic. So you can see the idea of tonic, dominant, tonic is everywhere in music. It's even in places like Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, its face was white as snow. We have tonic, 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 dominant, dominant, tonic, 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 dominant, dominant, tonic. We got twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. What do we have there? We had tonic, 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 dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic. Up above the woods so high, like a diamond in the sky. That's all dominant. And then we go tonic, 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 dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic. At its most fundamental level, so much of music that you're raised on as a child that we hear in children's songs, it's just dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic. So it's like it's ingrained in your in your psyche. It is cultural, but it goes deeper than that. It's like these patterns are ingrained into us from the time we are children. So we recognize it in music like this, whether we know it or not. I've just given you words to put a name to it. But this pattern of tonic and dominant, you've heard it everywhere since you were born. Let's check out Oath. Heck yes. Okay, a couple really cool things going on here. First of all, I want to grab this riff, and then we'll go to the end of the song. That's cool. So that's a G5 to an A flat 5 to G5 to hitting a D note twice and then A flat back to G. That's what that is right there. Now, let's take this to the end here. And what do we have here? We have a G minor to a E flat minor. Okay, that's the same relationship as the C minor to the A flat minor that we heard earlier in the OST. Remember I talked about how when you see a Disney movie and there's a haunted house, you'll hear those chords over and over again. Here we have it in a different key. So the relationship from C to A flat, if we go C, D, E flat, that's 3.5. Well, 2.5. And then if we say from G to and then from E flat to G, well, it's reversed now. So instead of going from E flat, instead of going from G to, oh no, I just counted it backwards the first time. And then now we have E flat, F to G. That also is 2.5. Or we could think about it. However we count it, it doesn't matter. It's the same relationship. It's the same sound, just starting in different places. So I wanted to point that out to you as well, that the Oath is actually pulling ideas that we've heard before in this OST, but presenting in the key of G minor, which started in the Infected Lands. Let's check out Erebus. Ha! This is awesome. Answering a question from the chat. Answering a question from the chat. Master Geese asks, what are some things musicians can do to make songs easier to listen to on repeat for long periods of time? At a fundamental level, at the highest level of hierarchical thinking, I believe, I've yet to be proven wrong on this. I'm open and willing to be proven wrong on this. But at the highest level of thinking that I've been able to synthesize is that you have tension and resolution at the highest level of creating music. Now, with intention and resolution, there's many, many, many sub parts. So you have pacing, you have stable versus unstable, you have consonant versus dissonant, you have repetition versus not repetition, right? So you can think about it in terms of tension and resolution. And then within tension and resolution, there's a bunch of subgroups, 4 of which I just named. Now, let's take repetition as an example and dive further into repetition. Within repetition, when you have this many instruments at your disposal, it's like each instrument can go through its own cycles of tension and resolution via how much repetition there is. And then globally, you can consider repetition. So there's multiple levels you can conceive the structure of a song at. There's multiple levels at which you can conceive the structure of a song. You can look at it at globally, what's the repetition? Then you can look at the section level, what's the repetition? Then you can look at the inside the section, what repetition happens, and then you can look at the individual instrument level on all those levels. So it's like there's so much that goes into creating music that sounds good that people want to listen to over and over again, and that's one of the reasons why we celebrate great composers and great songwriters and great producers. It's because they are masters at balancing all of these sub-elements within tension and resolution from the highest level of the hierarchy of the overall song all the way down to the individual instruments, what they are doing from a second-to-second space. And so it's understanding music and kind of unfolding it and unpacking it in your mind in this three-dimensional way where you see the form on top and then it goes all the way down into individual instruments. And if you can see the music like that and you understand that each level of the hierarchy, you have many different levers you can pull within the idea or the concept of tension and resolution. So that may not be the answer that you wanted, but that is the truest answer I can give you in terms of like a soundbite type thing without sitting down for like 2 years and teaching you everything I know about music theory. So, oh, by the way, speaking of teaching music theory, in the chat, there's a pinned comment with a free music theory course I made for you. So you can get started on music theory. There's no opt-in required or anything. You just click on the link, it'll take you straight there. You don't have to put your email in, no credit card, nothing. You can just use it. It's free. I made it for you. Use it, and I wish you the best. Okay, let's check out a mission. Oh no, possessed, excuse me. Heck yes. Okay, so what we have here is taking a piece of, oops, taking a piece of an idea, a motif we heard before. The motif we heard before was this. And here we hear, it's the way, same start. Ugh. It's the same exact way of starting it, except here it's going flat 6, 5, 4, 7, which gives quite a bit. And then, I mean, come on, that riff was just absolute sickness. But what I wanted to point out to you is how composers will very cleverly take a fragment of an idea and then develop it into something else. I mean, that riff, I mean, come on. That was insane in the membrane. That was probably my favorite riff, that crazy syncopated thing. So syncopation is any time a musical element, which we're going to say, okay, an instrument would be a musical element, but not all instruments, like, you could have voices and things. We'll say musical element. It's going to be our catch-all term. So anytime a musical element goes against the expected pattern of the rhythm. So just like we have deceptive cadences where musicians and composers and songwriters can do a sleight of hand and sort of change where you think you were going to go, they can do a similar thing with rhythm, but usually it lasts a little bit longer. It's not about a destination. It's about a feeling that actually creates tension within the music. And here we can hear a whole lot of syncopation where you can hear the drums stay steady, but the guitars almost feel like they're floating away from the drums in the most beautiful way possible. Sick. All right, let's keep this going with a mission. We walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known. Sorry. I'm going to disappear for a moment. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right back. I was trying to find that effect on my thing, but I couldn't find it. So what that effect is called tremolo, where what it does is it very rapidly brings the... Actually, I'm not sure how tremolo works. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, it's a very rapid changing of the volume. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't figure out how to get that on my nifty effects pedal here, because it's been a while since I used it. Let's see. Oh, maybe this will do it. No. No. Oh, well. Oh. Got it. There we go. There we go. That's the tremolo. There you go. So, the reason why I started singing Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day is because, well, that... Oh, whatever it is. Where it goes, but it's only me and I walk I'm walking down the line that divides me somewhere in my mind, on the borderline of the edge where I walk alone. Sorry. Okay. So, what we're hearing there, that is an effect called tremolo. Tremolo. That's what we're hearing in Emission. And what's interesting, too, is Emission is the first time we've heard the C sharp key, I believe, in this OST. So definitely changing things around. Sorry about my singing there. I was not audiating well. Sometimes I need to take my time, and sometimes I don't take my time. That's something I'm learning to do. Because when I take my time, I sing it well. And when I don't take my time, I don't sing it well. All right, let's check out Old Woods. Here we go. Just like that right there alone, this groove right here is sick. Oh my gosh, delicious. So again, we see this idea of this dyad, where we have one piece that is introductory, perhaps even either a cutscene or somewhere where you gotta farm or do something, and then the ante is upped. So a mission in the Old Woods were essentially based around a similar premise. The idea of C sharp to D to C sharp. You could hear it all over the place in both of them. And if you go back and you listen to a mission in Old Woods, you will hear the connection. It's the same key, the same ideas, but obviously in Old Woods taken to, well, turned up to 11 and sounds amazing, by the way. Let's get this thing going with Forgotten. Okay, now this piece, Forgotten, starts on C sharp again, but it goes somewhere totally different. Instead of going to D flat, this walks up by minor thirds. Why are minor thirds significant? Well, minor third, it's the relationship between two particular notes. You can start on any note and go up or down a minor third from that note. So for example, you start on C sharp, a minor third up is going to be E. A minor third basically means we go up 3 and then down a little bit. So C sharp, D sharp, E sharp would be up 3, but now we're going down a little bit. So it's going to be E. So from C sharp to E. And then from E it goes up a minor third, from E to F sharp to G. And you could hear as well this idea being passed along. Up a minor third. Back down a minor third. Ah. And what happens is if we stack a bunch of minor thirds on top of each other, we get what is called a diminished chord. Minor thirds, minor thirds, minor thirds. Very cool. Okay. Stay safe. Hacks cross over it. Stay safe. Okay. So Forgotten. Minor thirds. Stepping out of the idea of a mission in Old Woods, but still something similar. Okay, let's keep this going with Wild Hearts. Ha! And right there, starting it off just like Forgotten. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh no. I mean, so much to talk about here. One thing I want to point out too is A Mission Old Woods Forgotten and Wild Hearts seems to be a Western-inspired arc within this here thing. Yeah, something to talk about too is here we heard arpeggios ascending and descending. And we actually heard these ascending and descending arpeggios. Maybe it was in Forgotten just before this one too. We also heard some triplets against eighth notes, some really, really wild stuff. I would love to dive into this a little bit more, but we are unfortunately running up against some time blocks, so we're actually going to keep going here with Creeps. Let's check out Creeps. Thank you to Hacks Crossover for your very first super chat ever. I do very much appreciate your support. Stay safe. Have a wonderful day out doing deliveries. And thank you also to Space Cowboy for the donation. So something to talk about here, which you guys might not know, is the instrument that is being played here. This is called a... I think it's called a hand pan. Let's Google it. I'm like, I know exactly what this is called. Let's double make sure that I'm saying the right thing here. Hand pan instrument. Oh, thank goodness. Yeah, I had it right. Okay. Yeah, that's called a hand pan. Now, if you don't recognize that, you should try doing some more guided meditations with music, because many guided meditations with music have a hand pan in them. It's a very interesting instrument. I highly recommend giving it a Googs, which is giving it a Google. Go check out hand pan. Check out hand pan music. It's a very, very interesting instrument, and also interesting that it be used here because it's such a delicate, warm sounding. In fact, interestingly enough, the song titled Creeps was one of the warmest, most caring, open pieces so far of this OST. Very interesting. I also don't really understand how it's creepy. Maybe the visuals were creepy at this point. But I don't know because I haven't seen the visions. Speaking of visions, let's check out Bleak Visions. Well, I'll tell you, this reminds me of the Doom OST, not just because it's metal, but also because we got to track 25. We're almost at the end, and my goodness, it's just getting like belligerently heavy. Not saying that to take anything away from the art, the creativity. It's just like when I don't know about you, but for me as a musician, one of my weak points is when notes get very, very, very low, it's very difficult for me to identify what those notes are. And so when metal guitars go so low that it basically just sounds like growling, I have no idea what note was being played, but my gosh, it was so heavy. It might have well been some chainsaws. You know what I'm saying? Well, we're not at the end. We're not at the end, so let's see if we're going to go even heavier. How much further down the rabbit hole are we going to go? Let's check out Sanctus Overdrive. Something I want to bring your attention to. Something I want to bring your attention to is the way Sanctus Overdrive ends. This is wild. So we've heard so many different pieces up to this point. we heard, sure enough, in Creeps, there was this element of warmth. But we haven't heard, like, anything that's been sort of tongue-in-cheek, almost levity. But here at the very end of Sanctus Overdrive, like, just having this drum groove go with, like, the Latin vocals over it. What an interesting choice. What an interesting artistic choice of a way to wrap up this OST and bring it home. Like, who'd have thought after all the heavy headbanging heavy metal, you'd have this little, I mean, I'm not going to say janky, but like, what feels almost like this throwaway little drum part with these vocals over it. It's wild stuff. Real quick, I don't run ads in these streams. I don't interrupt them to plug anything. My only ask is that you share this channel with someone who you think would enjoy it. That's my ask. So please, share this stream with someone who you think would enjoy this stream. Share another video from the channel with someone who you think would enjoy it. And spend the time doing that instead of listening to me trying to sell you chairs or perfume or hair regrowth products and all the other stuff people ask me to sell you during these streams, and I don't. So please, share this. That being said, we're going to do one more for today called Commander's Theme. Let's check it out. Trailer version. Joseph Cortez says, oh man, I was waiting for this particular OST for a while. Here's some cash to celebrate. Put this towards leasing the table. You got it, Joseph. Thank you so very much for being an excellent supporter of this channel. Godot Coffee Storm says, nice stream thus far, gotta leave. Bumping Hades on my way out. Thank you, Godot Coffee Storm. Axe Crossover, celebrating your very first super chat. Thank you so very much for your support. Axe Crossover says, I wish I could hit more. Goes to see you here. Keep it up, Dan. You're awesome, dude. Hacks Crossover, if you want to learn more about music, don't tip me in super chats. Get my books. That's going to be the best investment of your money. Or any book on music. Courses. Rubberman202 says, it's my birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday! As well as birthday of Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario and The Legend of Zelda. I plan to have fun. Oops. There we go. I plan to have fun. As much fun as Banjo-Kazooie, whose OST I put this towards. You got it, Rubberman202. Thanks for bringing that around. And again, happy birthday. And also celebrating a first-time super chat from Master Geese. Thank you, Master Geese. Master Geese says, thanks for the fun. The soundtrack deserves more attention. It's great to see people enjoying it. I'll put this towards Hades OST. You got it. I agree this soundtrack deserves more attention. This was excellent. Excellent, top tier. Thank you all so very much for joining me on the stream. I will see you next time. Again, my ask is that you share this channel or share this video with someone who you think might enjoy it. Take care and goodbye.